What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. Wales versus the Springboks. That's the game getting us kicked off with the previews this week. What a what a light-hearted game to talk about for this one. Wales going up against the Springboks is a game that, oh man, across this channel existing, I feel like I've covered it so much. I don't know why. We had the Wales tour of South Africa, and it feels like they've had a lot of games over their time. Can you believe it was 5 years ago now that South Africa were able to narrowly 3 points beat #1 in the world, Wales, to be able to get into that World Cup final and go on to beat England? That was 5 years ago. We're a long way from that nowadays, as it stands. But team announcements have come out very early. Very surprised. This game isn't happening till Saturday. So we're going to have a run through the team sheets, go over our thoughts on the teams, go over some stuff from last week, go over our predictions for this game, and then finally go over a score prediction on how much we think South Africa are going to win by. Because all honesty, I'm going into this not favouring Wales. Let's put it that way. If you enjoy, hit the like button, all that good YouTube stuff. Drop down in the comment section what you guys think of the teams, and we'll jump straight into this one. Because Wales last week played Australia. It was a game I did not have great confidence in Wales being able to take. A lot of people said this was the must-win game. After the loss to Fiji, they have to step up now. They have to come back for that Australia game. I had very little faith. I put bets on Australia to win, and they all came in. They all did very well. 52 points to 20, 8 tries to Australia, 2 to Wales. I was honestly surprised by the end of it. They got 2, and just getting manhandled is one of the unfortunate things about this Wales team. The physicality to be able to face the Southern Hemisphere teams isn't there. I'm not one of these people who's big into the Northern Hemisphere versus Southern Hemisphere thing. I've never really got that. I know a lot of people online really like that sort of rivalry. Never bothers me. I just enjoy talking about teams playing other teams. But there is something to be said about the Southern Hemisphere teams and their physicality they bring to a game. They really ramp it up. Fiji had a superb performance against Wales, just bringing that physicality. Australia is sort of, piggybacked on the back of that and then went in with their own one. Luckily this week, Wales are going up against a team not perfectly renowned for their big physicality in the Springboks. I think it's going to be another massive, a weakling for Wales, just being able to deal with how hard, players can carry that ball up to the line. Just going on from the starts from last week, just tackles missed, 25 tackles missed across the board there. Number of turnovers won 1 compared to Australia's 7. They just had a lot of issues being able to deal with that Australian team, and I imagine that a similar thing is going to come in this week. Few issues with the team as well. Sam Costello coming on. I said it in the preview last week. He comes on and there's just an immediate dip in the team. And I noticed it again last week and gave that pass out to no one. You see Tom Wright charging down. You think, what have you given that pass for? Ryan Elias came on to, yet again be a situation where that line out just doesn't work. I said it again in the preview video. I said if I was Australia, I'd just chuck a man in that line out every time and just take as many as you can. By the end of it, the percentage, doesn't look great. It's 67% success of the line out for Wales, which is actually maybe more than I was expecting going into it. But just all of it was Ryan Elias coming on. Those line outs don't work. The Springboks have got big guys in that line out to disrupt, and I imagine they're going to be doing the same this week. A lot of calls for Gatland to resign and do stuff. He tried to resign after the Six Nations. I think people have forgotten about that. He's already tried to resign. They didn't let him. So he's still around. I don't know who's going to take that job. I think there's a far bigger issue than the call to get rid of the coach. There's such a big, umbrella of issues around this Wales team now. The WRU just across the board. There's lots to talk about, the regions. Is it time to finally get rid of one of the regions? I don't know how you deal with that. The money for grassroots isn't there. Players being locked out of playing in those club level teams and, wanting to go abroad but then can't play internationally because of the 25 cap rule. There's so much stuff to go, and it's a real in-depth thing. I have been tempted to just do its own video talking about Wales and just the situation they're in. I have seen a couple of other people do similar videos though. Let's jump in and talk about the Wales team. It's a very sparkly graphic this week. It's the only graphic I've been able to grab is from the Wales guy themselves. They're up in space. I don't know. All right, that's what we're going with this week. Team changes coming in. I've seen it very quickly, the team lineup and stuff, and we'll sort of run through. So front row again: Gareth Thomas, Dowie Lake, Archie Griffin, I think it's actually working okay for them. I think this is certainly the front row to stick with, because the bench is going on and just offering nothing in that front row for me, which is just such a shame. These are the three boys that I think should be still leading from Springboks, Scrum, monster scrum going on. It's going to be a tough old day. I still think this front row is the way to go. I think Archie Griffin's actually been playing quite well. He's probably been one of the quieter people to talk about, but I think he's been playing well. Dewi Lake's still a big ball carrier. Locked to Barman. Will Rowland's going in alongside of Crush Windsor this week. Adam Beard went out with his knee injury very early last week, and of course that's going to have an impact. He's actually gone from the team entirely now. Twins are getting his start, which I think would be nice to see. I think he is played better than Adam Beard anyway. Will Rowland's again for me last week, too many times taking the ball stationary. I don't know if it's just him or if just every time the pass comes to him, he just is not quite in the right position, or the pass isn't great. He just seems to be very stationary every time he collects the ball, rather than carrying onto the ball and receiving it and taking it over the gain line. It just doesn't seem to be working for them. The back row this week, James Botham going in alongside Jack Morgan and Tame Plumtree. Comes back in that number 8 shirt. Jack Morgan again is the shining star of this tier. Every week he's just putting in the effort. As it stands at the minute in terms of this Wales team, in terms of when you talk about like who would other teams want to grab from another team, if you were like, if only they were this nationality, I would want them in my team. What you want to do? I think Jack Morgan's one of the few that other teams would say, yeah, I would love to have Jack Morgan in a team. I think he's been solid in that back row. Tame Plumtree coming back in is someone I'm still yet to see in an international jersey, really sort of blow me away. I've really not seen it. He's going in at 8 this week. He can also play into that flank position. Aaron Wainwright for me has just been owning that number 8 shirt over Plumtree. Halfback partnership, Ellis Bevan going in alongside Sam Costello. Gallen's just like chuck him under the bus while he's here. Unfortunately for me, Sam Costello's I just don't think it's up to an international standard. Sometimes it's maybe a tough reality. I only speak honestly in these videos. It's all my own opinion. I'm not a rugby player. I'm not an international coach. I do think there's a situation sometimes that does arise though, where players can be good at club level and they don't find that step up to international, and then maybe they go off to different club levels and even thrive there. I kind of thought a bit the same about Reece Patchell. I was never like, I don't think he's quite landing this international jersey, but at club level he does well. He's got over to New Zealand now, and I believe he's doing pretty well over there at club level as well. There's just that step up to international, and I just don't think it's working. For me personally, I've not seen it. And you might say, well, you've got to give him time. You've got to give him those caps. You've got to give him, that edge to get in there. But then you look at someone like Jack Crowley over in Ireland, and you think, well, he's just stepped into that role and he's landed that 10 shirt and looks brilliant in an international jersey. Marcus Smith, when he first came on the field, all right, the kicking to post I don't think was necessary when he first came onto the scene, but he got involved with that team. He was running the 10 for England, and he was up in the Lions, and he was shipping up there. I think you can have relatively lower caps and still clearly say this is the guy to go in at 10. Sam Costello has unfortunately taken the brunt of being the guy who ran on the pitch for Mason Grady, and then last week again, I don't know if Anscombe got injured. I haven't read anything to say he's just out. He's not named in the team overall. But yeah, I think it may be looking somewhere else for a 10 for me. Centre partnership, Ben Thomas going in alongside Max Llewellyn. This might be one I'm still willing to give a bit more time just to see it gel together. It still feels a bit disparate. They're not quite linking up as I want them to. There's a lot of double tackles coming in from these lads. Like, they're not really backing the other person to mark their man. It's causing an overlap. It's causing the pop passes, and players are getting around the outside. Looking at the clean breaks last week, Wales got 3, Australia got 9, 3 times as many just clean breaks. And how many of them were just Tom Wright having a field day, just carving up the Wales team. Back 3, something to talk about positively. Actually, in this Wales team, Rio Dye coming back in the team, who I think has done pretty well this year. Blair Murray's moving to fullback, which is an interesting switch. Someone who I actually thought playing well. Tom Rogers might have been the best player on the team last week for me. Him or Jack Morgan, depending on what area you're looking at specifically. But just that backfield coverage under the high ball. It was a shame he picked up a knock quite early on and was really trying to see if he could walk it off and just didn't quite get there, and unfortunately had to come off. But I think Tom Rogers is another prospect. The back 3 is getting a little bit full now, and potentially people that can come in and do so. And I actually think Cam Winnett's done okay as well. An interesting switch for Blair Murray to go into fullback. Seeing how well Tom Rogers dealt with that backfield coverage last week against Australia. I'm not sure entirely about Tom Rogers' playing expertise and whether he's comfortable doing the fullback position as well. I might have liked to have seen Tom Rogers have a go in that fullback position and put Blair Murray back out on the wing, and you've got the two guys in their wing position, because I think Tom Rogers could be a real vital asset for dealing with the kicking game, especially from Springboks team who love to have a good kick every now and again. I certainly think he could be one to deal with that the high ball pretty well. And then in terms of the bench, it's a same old story in that for Ryan Elias, Nicky Smith, Azarati coming on. Haven't made the impact for me. Ryan Elias is one that I just still remain scratching my head about. I get so many comments from people saying, oh, why can't you see Ryan Elias in the shirt? And he comes on and then just every line out goes wrong. And I don't understand why people disagree with me. Again, another one for me where it's like, there's got to be better players that they're going to be able to get involved with that line out and operate that system a bit better. I think South Africa are going to look to Muller him all day long. Rest of the replacements then. Bit of a switch up this week. Freddie Thomas comes in, going to be making his debut. Tommy Raffel in that number 20 shirt. They've gone for the 5-3, which is always daring against the Springbok side. Roger Williams coming in that 21 shirt. Eddie James and Josh Hathaway going on in the backs. Low caps, and people could say this is crazy. You're chucking on the low cap boys against the world champions. What are you doing? In all honesty, at this point, I feel like Gatland probably knows he's on his way out now, and it's probably getting to the stage. I saw a couple of interviews with him where he was saying it's about what's doing best for the team. And not about him or individual players. What's going better for the team. Saw interviews with Dan Bigger, Sam Warburton, and Jamie Roberts, and they were talking about what really was put in place for the youth coming through. How were they actually being helped? That when all these big names retired, how was the Wales team going to be able to cope with it? And maybe not enough was put in place. I think Gatland's maybe just thinking, just get as many boys onto the international scene as possible. Get them on those low caps, get them more caps, get them up against the big competition that is the South African team. I don't think, if you're being honest, many people are seeing this Wales team go on to beat South Africa. I just do not see this Wales team being able to cope with the force of the Springboks. But getting these lads on, getting them some experience on the pitch up against top-end competition, it can't hurt at this point. They're already losing the streak as it's going, so why not chuck them on and give them a bit of a run out, and maybe for a new coach coming in, has a few more names and a few more, sort of reels to be able to look at in VTs and go, how did they cope against big pressure from the Springboks team? And maybe they're just looking slightly further abroad. I don't know. Springboks then, a slightly less glittery graphic, which is, I don't think, a bad thing. I quite like this. A little bit more clean to look at the team and what have you. Last week we went up against England, got a good win, 29 points to 20, even with their yellow card for the last 10 minutes, right? A couple of players in this South Africa team have just been phenomenal this year. They have done the awards. They've done the award nominations for Player of the Year. I couldn't remember when those nominations came out. I have been thinking about that the last couple of weeks about who gets into my Player of the Year. And two of them were certainly in there: Cheslin Colby and Pieter-Steph du Toit. Absolutely up there for me. Honestly, my vote is Pieter-Steph du Toit. I think he's been incredible this year. Cheslin Colby's another one, but they've got a third in there with Evan Etzebeth is also on that list for Player of the Year. I think again it's had another good year. Don't know if he would have been on my list. I haven't quite worked out who my 4 nominations would have been. Certainly would have been Cheslin Colby and Pieter-Steph du Toit. Pieter-Steph du Toit again last week again. Just ridiculous things that you can't believe he's doing on a rugby pitch. The charge down, chasing it on, and scoring a try from the box kick from England. It's just fabulous stuff to be able to watch. And this is a Springboks team that I think will be pretty happy with their year. Yeah, they've had a little bit of done. They lost to Argentina in the Rugby Championship. They've tested a bit out with a bit of a B team and stuff. I did wonder whether they would go B team for Wales. I was like, I just wonder whether they would, but they haven't. They've sort of gone. I would call it a 1.5 team. I would sort of go on that. Certainly got some big names there. This backs is looking real dangerous. Maybe a few new names in certain different positions where they've certainly got a big bench on the go as well. So going across this this front row, Oxenshea, Grobbelaar, and Thomas du Toit going in there. Oxenshea might be another one on my list. I think he's done very well this year as well. Grobbelaar going in at hooker. Now, the line-out situation last week, I've got the stats up here. I have to go by the stats I can find online. The line-outs were 15 from 16. I actually thought they had a couple more go wrong. Maybe they ended up collecting the ball at the end of it so it doesn't get measured as an incorrect line-out. It's still those long throws can still just punish them. So having maybe a third choice of hooker. Marks is on the bench. Bongi and Bonambi not playing. Grobbelaar playing as a different hooker option. I don't think is ever going to be a bad situation. Grobbelaar did play in the Rugby Championship, and I was quite underwhelmed by my expectations going in. So hopefully he does have a better game this week. I certainly believe someone's driving more tries could certainly be on the cards, and I think it'd be good for him to, a big confidence boost to get on there and get a try. Lock department, John Klein going in alongside of Franco Mostert. Was a weaker lock department than I was thinking, when you've got, the units that you do have in South Africa. And I had a bit more of a think about it and thought, what I actually think this is that Dewi Lake has actually been doing okay in the line-out throwing. He's actually been a bit better in this autumn series than he's been across the rest of the year. Ryan Elias is your target man to just ruin lineouts. And then I had a look down at the bench. And you've got Evan Etzebeth and Sneeman sat on that bench, waiting to come on, waiting to cause chaos. And I think that's probably a really good move. I wouldn't be surprised if they just really disrupt that and, they've got a bit more of a different lock department just to sort of be a bit of a nuisance in that line out for the first half. Wait for that 50-minute, wait for Ryan Elias to come on and bring on the boys, that are going to do some big punishment. I actually think that's a relatively decent move just in terms of game tactics. Back row, Sia Kalisa going in as captain in that 6 shirt, Elrich Lowe going in the 7, and Jasper Visser going in 8. If you want your physicality, which is certainly the way to play against Wales at the minute, Jasper Visser's your boy, right, to get on some big carries. Halfback partnership switching up. The Hendrickse brothers going in alongside each other this week, which I'm looking forward to. I think they also play together at club level. So, you've got a good pair in there. They know each other well. Of course they do as brothers, but also in terms of a professional manner playing with each other. They've got good experience to go in there. So although the switching it up, I've seen the Fafter Clerk, Thomas Reinach is on the bench, who I thought might be one to get a bit of a start. I thought Grant Williams did very well last week as well. But, a different partnership. Again, I think Wales is a good team to be testing out at the minute for different things. I think that's a nice partnership switch, and I'm looking forward to see how it gets on. Centre partnership, Damien Dialende going in alongside Jesse Creel, who for me is the preferable centre partnership in this South African team. Dialende started running off when Pollard came on last week, and he was like, no, you stay on. Libok is the boy going off for me, and they did that switch in there. So I think that'll maybe be the same situation. Maybe Pollard will come on at 12 this week. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they'll want to give Hendricks a good run out and see how long he can hold out that game. And then in that back 3, no messing. Curtly Arendse going alongside Cheslin Colby and Afaleli Fassi. Oh, brutal. A brutal back 3 again. I was kind of hoping maybe we'd see someone else. Maybe we'd see some new boys. I would still like to see Edwil van der Merwe. I haven't seen anything. He did take a picture of him at Twickenham. He was there. I would like to see Edwil van der Merwe have some more games. I don't know if he's out with an injury. I haven't checked or anything before filming this video. And then in terms of the bench, Marks, Steenkamp and Vincent Koch coming in there. That is a big old front row to replace Eben Etzebeth, Sneeman and Hanekom. I'm going to have a guess at the pronunciation. I've heard a lot of people big hype about this boy in the 21 shirt, so I'm looking forward to that. 6-2 split. It's a forwards game. I think that's the way to deal with this Wales team, is just go through the forwards, the huge physicality. Wales seem to have a bit of a again, it's just not having enough game time with each other. A lot of new players coming in, switching it around. I don't think the confidence is necessarily there in that Wales defence at the minute to just back that the guy outside you has got their own guy, or that you don't need to step in. And the Wales defence is bunching up a lot. Go through those big forwards carries, and I can see Wales bunching up, and that's where you spread it out wide. That's where you look for those crossfield kicks. I did wonder whether Marnie Lebok might get another run out for this one, purely because of looking to play that more expansive game and those crossfield kicks and something that could work. But the Wales back 3 have been dealing with the high ball pretty well, so maybe they'll be able to do with crossfield kicks a bit more. Looking to bunch up that Wales defence a bit more. And then replacement backs, Cobus Reinach and Andre Pollard. A few years back, I would have spoken about Pollard to come on and maybe seal out the game. I just don't see it going that way. Reinach coming on, though, is such a dangerous player to come on. Speed from the back of the ruck, but always looks to go for a snipe himself. I can see him wanting to get massively involved with this one. What do we think then in terms of of how we see this game going. You've probably already deciphered that from the way I've sort of spoken about this game. I think the Springboks have done the right thing with testing, you know, a couple of different partnerships, you know, the Harbeck partnership, and maybe mixing it up a bit. And I think they just want to seal this game out, end the year on a good solid scoreline. We saw this before the World Cup, this matchup, and South Africa put a huge score on Wales in the Principality, and I can see it going a similar fashion. I think just looking to try and keep discipline for this South Africa team. You know, in terms of penalties, then last week, 14 penalties went against South Africa last week, 1 yellow card. You know, they even lost one of their own scrums. 5 out of 6 scrums for them as well. I think just that discipline, I think, would be one I'd like to see from South Africa. See if you can finish a game maybe under 6 penalties or something. Really try and put a stamp down that you've worked on that discipline. You've got that doing well. Sort out your set play just to be on point and really try and punish Wales, and then, you know, really start racking up the scores. I once that scoreline gets away from Wales, it did get me last week. Wales were up 14 points down, and then they just started like turning down penalty kicks. They immediately were like, we've got to start going for tries. It seems like if you get 2 scores, maybe 3 scores in the lead, Wales are just going to back away from doing the penalties, the drop goal. They're going to go for those kicks to the corner. So suddenly you can begin to get a bit more, you know, open. I think putting those 3 points on the board early, just start ticking away at that scoreboard, and then maybe look for the tries afterwards, and maybe make Wales play the catch-up game. And conceding a lower amount of points, I think, would be a really big boost for South Africa. We saw the one in the Rugby Championship where New Zealand didn't score a try against them, and caught a lot of people, you know, by surprise to just not see New Zealand score a try. I think that would be a really quite a good achievement for South Africa to actually keep Wales out from scoring a try across the game. I think would also be really good for bolstering their just defence momentum, you know, for the end of the year. From a Wales standpoint, I honestly, you know, just got to go out there. I'm looking for those cogs to fit a bit better. Feel like those linkages are going to work. I want to see the centre partnership work better together. I would like to see the line-out work from Ryan Elias, but I think Dewi Lake has been improving. Being able to take penalties at the scrum, I think, would be a huge win for this Welsh team going up against South Africa. I think that would be a big boost for them. Line-outs, if you can just try and hold that out in the set piece, would be a bit better. And get the back 3 involved. I genuinely think the back 3 is probably one of the few positives I have to talk about in this Wales team at the minute. It's the idea that they could get involved, get some tries, play some expansive games, and go through those phases of play, which we did see for small portions of time versus Australia, where the linkages were working, and it just sort of failed on a final pass or a forward pass, and it just sort of really ruined a good bit of momentum. Just being able to do it from start to finish, get over that trial and go, you know what a well-worked try. Nice to see a bit of a youngster Wales team, lower capped, be able to get in and organise themselves to be able to put a score. I would like to see some stuff like that. Score prediction-wise, I'm all Springboks for this one. And I don't even know how much to say. I mean, they lost to Australia last week by 32. And I don't think it's outside that realm again. I'm sort of looking at like 35 to 40, sort of what I'm almost hoping for at this point. I'm going to say 40. I think the South African backs are still dangerous. They haven't even just like halved it. They haven't even just gone for the B team. They've still got people like Chuz and Colby on the wing. They've got RANT on the other. Afalele Fassi's been good over the year as well. I'm going to go 40. I'm going to go 40 for South Africa. Drop down your score predictions down in the comment section, guys. It's always fun to have a read through. Let's hope it's an enjoyable game of rugby. I know, I certainly think there's a very clear favourite going into this one. When these sorts of matches come up and you can see it going the way I think it's going to go, I really do hope it's at least an enjoyable game of rugby to watch and not just like an absolute crushing, like 60-0. I'd never find them games enjoyable to watch, even, you know, over as a Wales supporter. I just wouldn't think that was just an enjoyable game to watch. You want to see teams be able to step up against each other and at least have a decent game. Let's hope it does go that way. Lots of other fun games going on this weekend, guys. Make sure you check out the other preview videos on the channel coming out over the course of this week leading up to this weekend of the alterations. I'll see you all next time, guys. Bye-bye.